Today, we're going to be talking about optimizing websites for the most amount of conversions that you can get. It's an area that's often overlooked. We're so concerned and thinking about what lead sources we should be using, how much money we're spending, but an optimized website is really the central of all the marketing that you're doing. So that's where we're diving in for our model on how we help our contractors dominate their space. The first thing we do is we make sure that the website is converting the most amount of visitors into actual leads. So, after that, we're focused on SEO and Google ads, Facebook ads. Your reputation is absolutely critical. And so many of these tie in together. Reviews are tied into local SEO, nurturing, social media, and then tracking so that you could figure out what you're paying for each lead, where they're coming from, what's a lead, what's not a lead, and so on. So if you're serious about pulling off more leads from your website and you're doing waterproofing and foundation repair, I would ask you to just shut down those notifications on your cell phone, Facebook, email, whatever you're doing. And if you focus on this, I think we're going to have some great content. And I really want to support you to have an outstanding 2022. And again, this is the hub of everything. Okay. All right. Now, who am I? In case you haven't seen one of the webinars, quick introduction to me. Our team has really been supporting waterproofers and foundation repair contractors for 12 years now. Before that, I owned my own waterproofing company in the Chicago market. We are one of the top 3% of Google partners worldwide with our premier status, co-author of Marketing Automation, Intro to Marketing Automation. I've been on the board of directors for the Basement Health Association for over a decade. I host a podcast called Rainmaker for Contractors, where we interview success stories in the waterproofing and foundation repair world. And what's really most important is that we specialize with basement waterproofing and foundation repair folks. All right. A couple of shots for you. This is on the right here. That's John and I at the Google headquarters in Mountain View, California. I've been out there 3 times. And that's a group from the Basement Health Association. So how do we maximize our advertising spend? How do we get the most return on investment? The challenge is marketing in this space can easily take 10 to 15% of the revenue going to promote yourself, going to let people know, who you are and all about your website and your reviews and your company and the services that you offer, just to get rep in the home. So it's, obviously it's not about web traffic, although you need that. And it's not about things like time on site. But if you don't have a website that converts visitors into leads and really maximizes that, you're going to have a low return on investment. And like I mentioned, it's a overlooked area quite often. You don't want parked cars and an empty schedule. November 1st was always a big time for me when I owned my business because I wanted that 11-week backlog going into the winter. So on the couple of winters that I had like a 3 or 4 week backlog, it was, big time game on, because I knew my sleep would be affected, quite honestly, if I didn't have a big backlog. When you have a big backlog, you sleep better. So not having the right marketing strategy, not generating enough leads to, low return on investment and a lot of sleepless nights. The key to it is to build a great website that's going to convert as many leads as possible. So you want that consistency, because your website is really the hub. It's the place where people are going to go and check you out. They're going to try to get to know you. And we know that people want to do business with others that they know, like, and trust. And that's what your website is there for. It's going to introduce who you are, what your services are, and just really try to make that connection to convince them that they need to call you. The goal is a full schedule with trucks running, people are busy, sales reps are in front of customers on a continuous basis, and you're creating momentum and consistent growth. And that's really the key to continue to get bigger and better each year. So I mentioned, the website is the hub. It doesn't matter what kind of advertising you're doing. They're going to check you out. People are not going to drop $8,000 to $20,000 with a complete stranger. They want to know about your reviews. They want to know what kind of company you are. And they're really trying to get a general impression, because that website, it is a first impression. That old saying, you can't take first impressions back. So it's absolutely critical. Let me emphasize this with some math. So let's say if you look at your Google Analytics, you should be aware of how many visitors you're getting per month. So let's say you get 1,500 visitors per month. And out of those, you're converting 5%, just 5% into phone calls and leads. I do say leads because you can get phone calls and maybe they're service or maybe they're resetting an appointment or something, but you're getting, 5% of those visitors are turning into leads. So, and let's say you close 25% of those leads and you end up with 19 jobs. And let's say your profit from each job is about $1,500. That's going to leave you a profit of $28,500. I know some of you would be thrilled with that kind of a profit. But in this scenario 2 on the right, all the numbers are the same, except for this 10% conversion. So this is a website that instead of only converting 5% of the visitors into leads, they're converting 10% of the visitors through better calls to action, better connection, better pictures, better like opt-ins, which we're going to cover here. So they convert 10% and they're getting 150 leads. It assumes the same close rate from a sales perspective, that you're able to close and sell 25%. And then you end up with 38 booked jobs that are sold. If your average profit is $1,500, now you're walking away with $57,000. So if you talk about, marketing budget, some people are like, oh, I can only spend $5,000. Some are spending 10, 20, or 15 or 20,000 on marketing. Boy, you doubling the conversion rate on a high converting website, huge difference, as you can see. So here's someone on the East Coast. They do basement waterproofing, and they had so many leads that they thought they'd save themselves some money and shut off their Google ads, or not shut them off, but just really, not put a lot of money in there. And this is about the last 30 days, just organic phone calls coming in, 372. And out of those, these are 208 first-time callers. So sure, sometimes you're going to get a salesperson calling to sell you something. Sometimes an employee is calling in, or whatever the reason, but these are 208 first-time callers, almost all from organic. So that's a lot of phone calls of just converting visitors. So why is getting your website built to convert important to you? Obviously, it's to maximize your revenue ultimately and increase your profit. And that's what happens ultimately when you're spending all these advertising dollars to different sources. They're going to go to your hub and kind of check you out and try to get a feel for who you are, what kind of company you are. So how do we optimize a website? What are the key elements? What are the steps? What are the really important things that we should be looking at? I'm going to start with 12 and I'll unpack some of these. So number 1, speak to your target audience, your target avatar. Like, who are they? What are their fears and frustrations? And why should they choose you? And the sooner and faster that you can communicate that information, the more trust that you're going to build with them. Be real. Try to use authentic images. Try to stay away from the model that someone hired. They put on a yellow construction hat on him, and he's got the belt with all the tools. That thing gets way overused. That's on way too many websites. but you don't have to be perfect. Something like 96% of the videos on the internet are taken from a smartphone. So make them real. People can appreciate and engage with real photos. I would say make sure your employees are wearing a uniform if they're out in the field. I think that says a lot about your company and how well it's managed. Use video wherever you can. People love video. Video usage and consumption is out of control, and we kind of go right to video. We don't have to read. Someone reads it for us. It really engages in that lazy mind. Leverage your social proof. Reviews are absolutely critical for so many reasons. More and more people now are making up their mind who they're going to choose for services based on reviews, because you could really reduce risk. If you see someone's got 4.8 out of 5 versus a 3.8 out of 5, who would you choose? Who would you even bother calling? So reviews are absolutely critical. And if you've been on other webinars, I say this over and over again, reviews are really critical for your local ranking. So I showed you earlier about those free phone calls. They were coming in from Google. I could show you that person's got lots and lots of great reviews. They matter. It's all tied together. So really getting the basics in order. I'm a big fan of having the phone number on the top right hand side of the website. We read from left to right. And so we're kind of used to that phone number on the top right, or at least in the middle. I like it big and bold. Make sure there's a web form that's easy to find. Don't play hide and seek with your phone number or your web form. And absolutely critical to add all those credentials. Angie, before it was called Home Advisor, they offer a ton of them. I wouldn't say use more than 2 or 3. You could decorate a whole web page with all the self-promoting awards that they hand out. But definitely use some of those. I know some contractors are like, oh, the BBB is a joke. There's still people out there that trust it. And when you have an A+ rating from the BBB, that's just another credential. I encourage contractors to keep their eyes open. What other credentials can I add to my company? Because people trust those. Ensure there's an easy call to action that they understand. Having a phone number there versus call now or call for a free estimate, that second one, you're going to get a better response. And, there's no magic wands. It's just a bunch of little things that you have to pay attention to. People want deals, so show your coupons, show what you have to offer. Common place to put that is in your Google listing. Google allows you to put a coupon in that listing, and you could advertise with that. I'm a fan of live chat. I'm going to unpack that in a little bit. It works. Now, if you're smaller and you're the person that's overseeing jobs and you're maybe selling and your phone's going to voicemail sometimes, that company's probably not the best one to have live chat, because you're going to tick people off if you have some pictures popping up saying, how can I help you? And then you don't respond. That doesn't look good on your side. I am a fan of allowing people to book online. And there's kind of a psychological effect if they were able to pick a date and a time. And then after that, you start asking them information about themselves. In their head, they're able to say, you know what, I booked an appointment, and they kind of cross it off their to-do list. It kind of gives like a little mini commitment, and then you're able to call them back. Site speed matters. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then I love engaging in texting or SMS or any kind of marketing automation that you could do that you could personalize, that's not off-putting. It's a much more efficient way to run a business. So what is the one element that will have the biggest impact on your overall results for overall internet marketing efforts? It's really having a high converting website, because that's going to be the central to everything. It's going to pull all your lead sources in. All right, so let me talk about some things. Here's a website. Here you have the phone number displayed twice. You have a web form on the left. So it's pretty clear with 2 phone numbers and a web form. And then this other thing, live chat and a happy family. It's pretty clear what's going on here. Here's an authentic image. The majority of people have a uniform. This guy looks like he's a little bit out of uniform. So does this person. If you look closely, they have different colors here. This guy, no doubt, is in management. Laborers don't show up with a tie to work. But then I love these review stats. So everyone looks at your Google reviews, over 1,200, 182 on Home Advisor, and over 2,400 on BirdEye. This says a lot. If you're going to get 3 estimates, this company is so large, you're probably going to have them out just because so many people are going with them. And then this is another great strategy as well. You have a picture, and this is what they're saying about your company. So all those are really important conversion factors. Here's another one, big, bold, phone number twice. You have the in-house consultation. You have the big truck with a welcome video. Here's a great example of a video. It really sets you apart. This clearly is not Chuck in a truck running around with a bucket of tar and a shovel in his pickup truck. This is a company that's driving around in a $60,000 customized truck. So how can we get your website to convert like that? Do you have all those conversion factors? Here's a little image that we made. Is your website findable? Is it engageable? Is there engagement? Do people feel like, okay, there's some really interesting stuff in here. There's good photos. This is really helpful. Do you have those conversion factors in there? Do you have tracking tools so that you know where the leads are coming from? Is your brand logo easy to see? Is there a unique selling proposition in the middle, which we're going to talk about in a minute? And mobile, responsive, fast loading websites is absolutely critical. I'm going to unpack that in a bit. So there's a saying in marketing that says, if you could see Joe Jones through Joe Jones' eyes, then you could sell what Joe Jones buys. I think the key really is to see through the customer's eyes. It's really the prospect. Like, what are they looking for? What are their concerns? I want to kind of go through and ask some questions, and then I'll unpack this a little bit. So this is it's a very concise, but when you get into marketing and you're kind of doing the big picture, one of the early stages is, okay, who is your avatar? Who's your ideal customer? And then you throw some names out there, some characteristics, and then you name that person, and you literally give them a name. Let's call him Joe. So then, okay, well, what are Joe's pains and frustrations? And then we write those things down. What are their fears? They're going to get ripped off. They're going to pay too much. They're going to be inconvenienced. What are their goals and desires? They want a healthy basement. They want to make sure they're not breathing polluted air. They don't want their valuables ruined. They're tired of cleaning it up. They want to put an office in the basement. They want to put a bedroom in the basement. They want storage so it doesn't get ruined. What are their dreams and aspirations? They want to be able to entertain. They want to create a nice playroom for the kids. These are all things that people want in relation to basement waterproofing and foundation repair. They don't want to lose money on their house when they sell it, because people don't like leaky basements. It blows a lot of real estate sales. So who is your ideal customer avatar? Well, we know they're a homeowner, right? And they're probably 35 and older. Some of them more or less expensive markets, maybe you say 30, but to own a home in today's society, you need to make some money. So typically they're 35 and older. Typically the person calling is a female, occasionally a male, oftentimes married with kids, but in our very diverse society, it's kind of all over the place. And whoever owns a home, they're going to have home issues, right? They're going to have foundation issues. Head of a household, $65,000 annual income or more, family oriented, pretty typical. They're reliable. They might be working for corporate America. They get easily frustrated with a lack of service. They provide great service to who they deal with, and they expect the same. Their pains, fears, frustrations, something's wrong with the basement, with the foundation. They're tired of cleaning up the wet basement. Their valuables get ruined by moisture. It could be photographs. It could be the leather smells. It could be, the clean wash was left in the basement for a few days. They bring it upstairs. Now it smells. It could be dry rot on stairs, floor joists, squeaky floors, bugs, rust, water heater, washer, it's corroding, all sorts of problems. Concerned that it's unhealthy. How many times you heard this if you've been in a space? Oh, my husband says he's going to fix it, but he never does. It's been years. So they want to hire a professional. Fears and implications. I don't want to get ripped off. I don't want to be overcharged or pay too much money. I want to do my due diligence and shop around. If I could save $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000, I definitely want to do that. I don't want a damaged home because the technicians are sloppy and they're not experienced, and they bring in a jackhammer and break stuff and knock on my drywall, and they don't do drywall, right? They don't want to wait too long to get it fixed. I know we have some clients that have really, really big, $2-3 million backlogs, and they're scheduling in the spring. That's hard. Those contractors typically are not willing to compromise the quality of work. They're not going to hire a bunch of inexperienced people and throw them on a crew because it causes more pain and damage, and it hurts their reputation. They don't want to be inconvenienced with scheduling, taking time off of work. A disaster can happen in their house. Maybe it's too expensive. Like, people don't really have $8,000 to $20,000 sitting around. They probably are going to want to finance it. What are their goals and desires? Get the foundation fixed, have this issue behind them so that they can enjoy their house. If you think about it, basement's in many houses, it's about half of the living area. And if it's a 2-story house with the basement, it's 1/3 of the living area. And if they really can't use it, that's a bunch of wasted space and wasted money. Want to take care of their family and create a healthy living environment. Maybe they want to move to a more luxurious home, something bigger, something nicer. They want to drive a nicer car. They want to keep the kids and the family happy and successful, spend more time with family. So messaging that works, that we see a lot on websites, no pressure sales tactics. People kind of feel like, okay, they're not gonna corner me, and some people really like that. That there's financing options, that they're not going to have to spend all that money up front. Maybe it's only going to be $250 a month. That's manageable. They want to make their basement healthy now. That's exactly what I want. I want healthy, usable space in my basement. It helps to say, if you do this, employee background checks, because a company's going to send 5 or 6 laborers to your house for a few days to fix your basement. Who are these people hanging out at my house? And maybe you want to not miss work, or you can't miss work, and you want to know that you have a company that's sending trustworthy employees into your house. So are the technicians certified, and are they trustworthy? That stuff matters. Do you have a lifetime warranty? They don't want to spend all this money, and 3 years later or a year later, the basement leaks again. Are they licensed, insured? Are they going to pull permits? All these kind of things. If you're taking care of this ahead of time, it puts the person at ease. So you want to speak to your ideal customer in ways that's professional, that's, full service, satisfaction guaranteed, trusted technicians. All these things matter, and they help build trust, and they move people from a web visitor to a lead, to a phone call, to a web form, which gets sales reps in front of a new customer. So be authentic, be real. I don't see a lot of websites out there today that have authentic and real images. if you're stuck on like, oh, I don't want to be the center of my website, I don't take good pictures, I'd say get over it and get over yourself. Just don't be afraid of that. We're all human, and I think people connect with that human aspect. You don't need to be a model on your website, and putting you up there would be way better than, nothing, or just a blank image. I'm a big fan of video. I think you need to leverage video wherever you can. I think it's the way of the future, making, anything from 30-second to 2-minute videos. If you could capture yourself explaining something, why basements leak, how you fix them, if you could capture video testimonials with happy customers afterwards, that's huge. And get those on your site, and people will consume the video, and you help connect yourself to them as they take in that video. I love these reviews. Yes, you need them on Google, but when you have those good reviews, if you could pull them over and put them on your website, that's really big. Once again, it just reinforces social proof. Get the fundamentals down. You need that web form up there. You need the live chat. Put those pictures on there, the phone number on the top right. These are all like basic fundamentals. Live chat, proven to increase leads by an average of 35%. That is huge. It's, let me explain a couple fears. One, it's typically free or something that's extremely affordable, but many really good live chat tools are free. And two, how it works is if you have someone answering your phones, they basically log in. Let's say they start at 8, and when someone messaged them, it pops up, and then they can respond. It's as simple as that. At the end of the night, they log out. And you could even say, live chat between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, or whatever your hours are. So that's how live chat works. So if you are familiar with your Google Analytics, this is a common theme that I've seen. I show this to contractors, and they say, man, I'm getting all these web visitors. Why don't more people call me? And the stats might be like really high, industry average. And it's shocking how many tire kickers there are. And the more different ways that you could connect with people, whether it's through a web form, maybe they're at work and they can't talk, but they want to connect with you, so they fill out a web form, or a phone number that they can talk to you, or maybe they want to engage with live chat. So to me, this is a difference. I have talked to owners, and they say, well, I have my phone number on my website. You just click can contact, and you'll find the phone number. And sometimes there's not even a web form. All right, if you're fishing and you're doing it for fun, you might have a pole and you might not be that serious about bait, but you're like, you know what, it's all good. I'm sitting on the boat, it's sunny, and I might get a bite, I might not, no big deal. But if you're super serious about fishing, and maybe your meal depends on it, and maybe you haven't eaten all day, and you have a few other poles and you have other bait, if you're serious about catching a fish, you'll probably put in a few different lines with different bait. And it's the same with a website. If you have your phone number, if you have your web form, if you have live chat, and it's all easy to see, if you have authentic images, if you have your customer testimonials, if you have your credentials from trusted third-party companies, BBB, Angie, Basement Health Association, these are all things that are going to pull more leads to you. So I just highly recommend this. All right, so mobile friendly. Your website, I think, is often overlooked. Over half of your traffic is coming from mobile. That's what I believe. And that's after looking at, probably 50 to 100 websites that are in the waterproofing and foundation repair industry throughout the United States. So if that much traffic is coming to your website from mobile, boy, you better check to make sure that it converts as many visitors as possible and it looks really good. What you'll want is this little, if you see this green bar on the bottom, something that really shouts out that if they hit that button, The phone number is going to show up and then they could just call. You're going to get more leads if you have that. If it's a slow loading website, on mobile especially, I guarantee you're losing traffic. People are going to leave. There's clear stats that say for every second that someone has to wait for your website, you're losing visitors. So 4.8 billion people now own mobile phones. 3 out of 5 consumers are searching for local businesses with their smartphone. And Google reports that 40% of mobile consumers turned to a competitor site after a bad mobile web experience. I think that number is way higher. I certainly have done it many times. This last one, Google Mobile's first index. So Google is using your mobile website to determine where you should be ranking based on the experience, based on the content and the links and so on. So typically you're going to have the same content on your desktop version versus your mobile, but that whole user experience, if it's not a good user experience, you're going to be penalized by Google because it's just not a good, like Google, how Google wants to continue to dominate the market is they want to ensure that their users are really having a positive user experience. So they're not going to give as much credit to companies that have a poor user experience on mobile. So they're using mobile as their way to index websites. So I mentioned that click to call. It's if you're on the WordPress platform, there's a plugin for that. There's actually a couple plugins, make it simple. Yeah, so mentioned live chat will increase leads by 35%. Highly recommend it. All right, so web speed. Here is, so if you Google this, page speed insights, just type in page speed insights, actually looks something like this, page speed insights. You could put anyone's URL in here and then hit enter and analyze. And you're going to get a mobile speed on the top left and a desktop speed. And what you want is you want 90 or higher. And you want a really fast load time. Because as I mentioned, like here's an example. They had a 32. I just talked to someone in Atlanta a few days ago, and their mobile score from Google was 16. So this one said 32. So with a 32 score, they have you have to wait 7.2 seconds for the whole thing to load. You know, if you're going to wait on that, I don't think so. And now for this one, if you have a score of 90 or higher, it's going to load in 2.3 seconds or less, the whole thing. So a lot of times once you get the first page, you're like, okay, that's cool. I could see it. You don't need every single page behind it loaded. There's another rating called time to first pixel, and that is how fast the very first dot, the very first pixel shows up after you hit enter. This one is the entire site loading. But so we like this Google Page Insights. Make sure it's 90 or higher. If you need help with that, please let us know. All right, so some key ideas. Use real authentic images of you and your team. Use video, get a welcome video there. Showcase your online reviews. Get the basics down, make that phone number real visible on the top. Get a web form on there, use live chat, use your credibility symbols, get your reviews on your website, use calls to action, speak to your customer, the customer that you're going after, use your coupons, and, use book online. It's, I think when I talk to people about it, initially they're a little bit like, wait, what? I don't want to be booking. That sounds like a mess. How do they know my calendar? It's pretty easy to use. You tie it to a Google Calendar, and as long as you book it a few days out, now you capture their information. You confirm that appointment before you send somebody out. So once you overcome that, it's pretty slick. It's another way to pull people in to optimize your website. So which of the following should you implement in your business now that will have a positive impact on your conversion rates? So I would say pick 3 in the next 30 days, be action oriented. Actually, right now, if you have an agency and you're thinking about your website through this webinar and you're like, man, we should have more of this, more of that. I would say right now, just take some action, reach out to them, saying like, hey, is there a way for us to, fill in the blank? It might be, is there a way for us to put more customer reviews on their homepage? I think we need more credentials. Are there any other credentials we could kind of promote and get up there? Could we have a call to action there? Can you make the phone number more accessible so that someone doesn't have to find it? So what is that for you? And that's going to help you. It's going to help convert more web visitors into leads. If you would like a free strategy session, please let us know. There's all sorts of tools that we have, and we're able to look at all sorts of things. More information than you'll want, but we could summarize this for you, make it simple, and so create like a little plan for you on what next year could even look like. So in December, we are doing a webinar on your internet marketing plan for 2022. I think it's going to be a great webinar. There's going to be a lot of really good information, and it's good to plan ahead so that you really have a great impact for next year. And if you want to hear from other successful waterproofers and foundation repair folk, we do have a podcast called Rainmaker for Contractors. It's accessible wherever you view your podcast or listen to them. So please find that. And thank you for your time today. I hope you got some good tips out of that, and I hope you take action and make it happen.